It's quite ironic that in my previous upload I said that I'm not going to record October patch video until it gets either released to the vanilla game or it is confirmed to be in its final state. And literally 10 hours after the video was posted, DICE has released the patch to the vanilla game. So naturally in this video we're gonna go over the most important things that changed in this patch. I'm not gonna mention all of the details because those are just boring and I don't think you want to hear the lightning changes in some cathedral on some map. Who cares about that? Anyway, starting off with what is probably the biggest change in this patch and something that all Battlefield 1 players have been waiting for since the game launched, DICE finally provided us this server browser for operations. I'm not gonna lie that it's quite funny for me, considering the fact that we've already had that option when the game launched, because there was a glitch allowing you to access operations via server browser in a normal way. It even looked exactly the same as the current browser for operations. I don't really get what took you so long, DICE, because you've already had that in the game, all you had to do is make it visible to players. And as if that wasn't enough, DICE has completely removed 40-player operation game mode from the game, which is probably the most stupid decision they have ever made in Battlefield 1, except for the Ammo 2.0. The official statement explaining why DICE decided to do so is that they want to have more players playing 64-man operations. Are you fucking good, DICE? Okay, let me explain, because I know some of you might be confused whether I think it's a good idea or maybe not. Some of you probably love it, some of you probably hate it, same as I do, so just let me explain. Battlefield 1 has two main game modes, and that being Conquest Large and Operations. And while I do acknowledge the fact that majority of players prefer to play 64-player game mode in this game, because it either has a better immersion, there is more action, it's more intense, and in general there's a lot more going on than on the 40-player game mode, which I completely agree with because I see those differences myself. But here is the other side of all this. There is a second group of players, which is considered to be a minority in the whole community, but we still do exist. Some of us just prefer to play 40-player operations, because you can apply more tactics when there is less players on the server. Second, there is no cluster everywhere, and you can have more enjoyable gameplay. And third, there is no sniper fest every round. But apart from all of this, some players, including me, have weaker PCs. And we can't handle 64-player operations, because naturally, the more players you have on the server, the more intensive the battle is, and the less frames you have. Taking a look at my own example, I have 50 to 60 frames on average on 64-player operations when I play on the lowest settings possible in the 1080p resolution. On the contrary, on the 40-player game mode, I could easily run at about 80 to 90 frames without drops, which resulted in having a lot more enjoyable experience, because I could just play in higher frame rate. And now after a year since the game was released and I've been playing this way, DICE decided to remove this game mode. They just don't care. I'm wondering if the team developing Battlefield 1 has any sort of connection with the public relations team responsible for the marketing and overall appearance of the company. I'm just curious if I could actually ask for a refund at this point, because they removed something that I bought the game for. Obviously I'm not gonna do it, but I guarantee you that there are players out there who are only playing specifically this game mode. And what are they supposed to do now? Join half-empty 64-player operations server and leave once it goes full? And apart from operation changes that were made in this patch, we also got the elite classes completely removed from game modes like Domination and Team Deathmatch, which I think is a great idea, because those were pretty unbalanced on such low player game modes. We also get an option to see the amount of health of our teammate that we want to spawn on, which, in my opinion, is one of the best features that we needed in the game, because now we can actually tell if this guy is going to stay alive and be a good spawn location. The sensitivity of the cannon in the assault truck is now fixed, and it matches the sensitivity of all the other vehicles in the game. Also, we now get to choose whether we want to hold the bayonet charge button or just simply press it. It's obviously a cool thing to have, many players will appreciate it. I haven't had problems with bayonet charge before the patch, but I know that there are players out there who want a little bit more customization for themselves, so now they have the alternative if they don't like the default option. But most importantly, from now on, you can bind the bayonet charge attack under a different button than the melee one. Can you even remember how many times you wanted to use the bayonet charge and you ended up swinging your melee, or vice versa? That's gone from now on. The trip mine HE bomb damage was buffed, and now, after the guy goes into it and then someone finishes him off, it actually scores as an assist counts as kill, which is going to make the Mosin marksman rifle assignment a lot easier to complete. It's literally the best change in this patch for me, because I haven't even started doing the assignment yet. DICE also added an option to disable the chromatic aberration, which wasn't really liked by many players, and on top of that, from now on, if you set the amount of blur to 0%, you will actually gain some frame rates. I can tell you that I gained about 5 FPS on average after this patch, so it works. And the last thing added with this patch is the ability for the server admins to switch players between teams, which is such a basic thing that I don't understand why it wasn't implemented since the game launched. And that would be all for the major changes in the October patch. If you want to read all of the details, I will leave the link in the description. As I mentioned many times, patch notes videos are the most boring to watch, so if you're looking for something good for this evening, just go back to the previous videos. Those are a lot better than this one. And as always, if you enjoyed, remember to leave a like, subscribe, and I see you on the battlefield.